Welcome to Paru Zing's Appraisers on Purpose. In this season, we journey through the realm of technology and connect with valuation and data analysis experts who are at the forefront of industry transformation. We dive deep into how technology is redefining asset analysis, identifying trends, and enhancing professional valuation skill sets. Join us as we meet with leading minds to discuss the revolutionary intersection of technology and traditional processes with our host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, and chief appraiser, Michael Hobbs.
Welcome back. I hope you're doing well, your health is improving, and you're still maintaining your New Year's resolutions. I know, you might be chuckling as well. You know, some of us actually get it done. The rest of us, well, them is a nice thing. Well, today is definitely more than a New Year's resolution. Excited to have another fascinating guest doing some work I didn't even know existed. That's what I love about the podcast, the opportunity to connect with peers all across the country and gain some perspective from their life, their professional journey. Before we jump in, yes, this will definitely be one you will be thinking, who comes to mind that I should definitely share this with? And given what you're going to learn, pop it in the comments after you hit the like button. And subscribe if you haven't already done that. We're grateful to be on more platforms here in 2024 due to the recommendations, referrals, and introductions. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. And with that, I want to say, Jacob, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a great honor.
Yeah, no, love to have you, man. So we've still got that famous opening question. Were you born this way, or how did your life come to get involved in the appraisal and valuation space?
Yeah, so I was going to school to become a police officer, going to college. Yeah. Needed a job. I was 21 at the time, couldn't find work. My uncle's best friend owned a appraisal company. I'm sure many of you heard it. A company called Metro West in Southeast Michigan. Got me a job taking comp photos. Literally, back in the day, back in 97, the old 35 millimeter film, driving around taking comp photos all day. And Don came to me one day and said, I'd like you to become an appraiser.
Wait. Is it that easy? You just take a couple selfies and then they ask you to become an appraiser?
I wish it was that easy, right? Yeah, it's he had a big group of trainees, and we were called valuation specialists at the time, back then. So this was November of 97 when I started there. And yes. So he had many valuation specialists working for him, and I took the classes, I got my valuation specialist license, and until March of 2000, I worked there. I worked for Metro West Appraisal, training to become an appraiser, and it was great. Had an excellent time. I learned a ton about appraising, and so it was, but I still, up until that point, said, I'm going to continue going to school, I'm going to become a cop, and I'll just do this as a part-time job, make extra money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, moonlighting's been around since Bruce Willis and what's-her-name were in that TV show. I mean,
right. Sybil Shepherd.
But yeah, I mean, thank you so much. It's been around for a long time, for those who's oldest to remember it. I mean, it's nothing new, but that's phenomenal that here you are going to school, looking to serve and protect, and along the way, you're just, looking to earn some income. You get an opportunity through talking to, what was it? You said it's your uncle's friend who was working at Metro West?
He owned. So my uncle owned or was best friends with Don Russo, who owned Metro West. They had been friends since high school.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is
fantastic. Or college, I'm sorry. College, sorry.
Yeah, great to have relationships like that. And here you are, you get to start out as someone, the title valuation specialist. I love the fact you said that you actually had to take classes to be a valuation specialist. That's cool. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. It was there was a trainee, you were appraiser trainee, but Michigan called them valuation specialists. And I went through multiple classes to get the trainee license, and it was great. My mentor there was Andy McGinnis, who is actually at Class Valuation now. I just found out, actually. And he was an excellent mentor to all of us and taught us so much about the purpose of appraisals, how to appraise a property, how to pull your comparable data correctly. And for 2 years, year and a half, I trained and I worked with them. And it was an amazing experience. But we all know what happened in early 2000. The market blew up from the real estate, the tech bubble.
Oh yeah, that was something. A little Y2K implosion. The world was coming to an end. But before
Right.
the world came to an end in Y2K, I mean, inquiring minds want to know here, Jacob. How good of a photographer are you now? I mean, you had so much time to be taking photos. I'll be the first to admit, my wife laughs at me now, a bit from annoyance,
Yeah.
when she's trying to take like a photo, like a group of friends or the family get together or selfie even, and she's complaining that it's not coming out well. I'm like, well, you gotta like move a little bit. Like there's some light over there, and she's like, what are you, like Mr. iPhone? I'm like, well, I don't have one of those, and I've taken so many thousands and tens of thousands of photos of it. You just learn like what works and what doesn't work. But I mean, you actually got some training on this. This is impressive.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you drove around all day and you took photos. I mean, the Metro West provided the cars. They provided the cameras.
Wait.
Yeah.
Guys is so out of touch. They gave you cars?
Yeah, he had cars at the
Damn.
Yeah, he had
Should have been in Michigan.
they weren't, they were Toyota Corollas and they're small little cars, but
It's a car.
right, it was still,
And they paid for gas?
paid for gas. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think I'm falling in love like 25 years too late. This is amazing.
Yeah, and then use the 35 millimeter film and drop it off we were in a building in Franklin, Michigan.
Yep.
And
Franklin, Michigan.
the guy, there was a little party store inside the building that we were at, and he actually had the machine to develop all the film. We drop it off an hour later, come back down, get it, and then have to put all of our photos with double-sided tape in the appraisal report that was typed up. And then, it was a big difference from what it is now, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness. That is such a big difference. And I mean, it just goes to show how much technology has changed. I mean, an active part of your life was 1 hour photo. People don't even know what that is.
Right.
They don't even know that 1 hour photo literally changed the game in the film processing industry. And then something called double-sided tape, which most people have never seen.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
the cost. I mean, if you think about the cost.
Well, share with us a little bit about that. I mean, a lot of people don't have perspective on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, 24 photos per roll of film, $10, $11, $12 per roll. Well, we were going out and taking 15, 20 appraisals with us. We go to certain areas in Southeast Michigan and we'd be out all day. We could go through 2-3 rolls of film. Nowadays, you got your digital camera. You don't have any of that. You don't have that overhead anymore. It was a huge amount of money. I don't know how much Don spent every month, but I can only imagine that bill. Because
wasn't it $10 or something back then?
$10, $11, yeah. He may have gotten a break because of how much he spent, but still, you're looking at $10, $11, $12 a roll for a 1 hour. And the guy was good. He'd get right on it. Within an hour, we'd always have our photos.
That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I don't know why that suddenly came to mind, but I mean, when you put that in perspective, and we're talking 25 years ago, what you think about other things, like go back and look at the price of milk if you needed a benchmark for it,
right?
The price of Big Macs.
Right.
That's changed in 25 years. I mean, that was a significant expense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you talk about how that has literally gone away.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that we didn't, we use books for our comps. We had one computer that had that MLS, but it was a DOS system. That was it. So otherwise, we would use the old books to find our comparables that were so you wouldn't get those until 3 months later. So your comps were all dated, 3 months minimum. Yes. But that's how we would find our comparables. We'd have to look through books. Nowadays, I mean, it's so easy to do it compared to what it was.
And all the photos that you have access to. I mean, back then,
right.
You were lucky to have one little 1-inch black and white.
Black and white, right. Exactly, right. Yeah, now you can see the inside of the whole house. Oh. Yeah, you can actually determine if what the agent is saying is true. Back then, we just had to go with what the agent said. Didn't have a choice.
I mean, I know you're not saying this, but I will. There's a particular agent in Chicago who will actually be generous to and not name him for how much parent misleading information was routinely posted on the multiple listing service because he sold all his listings to his buddies. They were all investment properties. And the reason I knew that is because I used to buy a lot of properties. And it was infuriating anytime this guy got the listing.
Yeah.
Because he would list it as a 2-unit property when it was 3-unit, or he would say it had all 1 bedrooms when they might have been 3 bedrooms in a 4-unit. And I was just like, I didn't know enough back then. I mean, that was a long time ago. There were actually repercussions for that. There is something to be said about transparency.
Yes, there is.
Buyers and sellers are fully have the opportunity to be more fully informed. So
yeah, 100%.
I can appreciate some of those changes you're referring to, Jacob.
100%. Yes, it was a crazy time, but you know what? It was a lot of fun, and I realized at that point, as I continued in my journey as a valuation specialist, that this is what I wanted to do for a living. I love it. I love it to this day. I don't miss that. I think I missed out on anything by not being a police officer, but I tell you, real estate is a beautiful and vicious industry to work in.
No, that's true. I mean, and one thing that's easy to overlook, and I was unaware of this until about 2 years ago when, I was right, might have been in 2020, was asked to start doing a lot more talks and presentations across the country. And in one of the economic outlooks I was giving really just kind of highlighted the size of the residential and the commercial real estate markets just domestically, not even globally. And it is staggering when you see the numbers that are out there. And I'm not even talking about number of transactions. I'm just talking about the actual value of properties, to your point. And yet, sadly, as you and I have also discussed, there's no education. There's no significant body of education around one of the biggest industries in this country, which is shocking. Yeah. And yet, I'm grateful that you were able to go to school for the intention of becoming a police officer. Did you ultimately become a security officer or police officer at any point?
I was a reserve police officer in a little town that I lived in for 4 years. It was a volunteer position, but I did go through an academy, and for that, it was a lot of fun. It'd be something I'd look into again at some point, but right now it's not possible. But so I did a little bit of it, right?
Got it. Yeah, no, that is a great thing. I really appreciate where your heart's at and your desire to serve there. So here you are, you get this opportunity. And again, one of the very interesting things around connecting with people all across states are the different, in this case, names, processes, procedures, approaches. I love the fact that you said in Michigan, they call it valuation specialist as opposed to trainee. Like, what a friggin' horrible name. Like, shame on any state that has a license level that's called trainee. Is there anything more that says, like, 16-year-old in the car, like, be careful of a beginner driver?
Right.
Like, I mean, in some senses, I get it. In other senses, I'm like, please stop that.
Right.
So here you are, you get tapped on the shoulder. It's kind of like playing baseball and they're calling you up from the minor leagues. So you get tapped on the shoulder. What was it like?
It was great. I absolutely loved every minute of it. I loved working with the appraisers that were, that would answer all of our questions. Every appraiser at Metro West was really good to us as we were learning the craft, as I learning the trade.
Sure.
And it was everything that I thought. That's why I decided to change my career and decided to make appraising or the valuation of real estate my career. Wow. Yep.
Impressive. So
I got my license in March of 2000. I became a state licensed appraiser in March of 2000.
Right in the middle of the world coming to an end. I mean, everybody was singing Prince's "Let's Party Like It's 1999," and the computers were going to implode and planes were going to fall out of the sky because they had no idea what happens when the computer internal clock goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
And nothing happened.
and nothing happened. That is so true.
Yeah. So unfortunately,
but the
not a great
dead. I mean, 99 going into 2000, I was running a private equity backed business at that time, and we were just watching our orders from tier 1 clients just drop like a rock because spending was just drying up so quickly. Both residential investment spending, personal spending, as well as business investment and spending, unless you were in IT and consulting services.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was dead. And I decided that I wanted to break out on my own and try to be an independent appraiser. So I ended up leaving.
And you left the friendly confines of Metro West and Andy McGinnis? I mean, was it just, you're like singing Sinead O'Connor, "This is the last day of our acquaintance." Like, what happened?
Right. Well, I was dumb. But in the same instance, I'm not going to say I regret it because every piece of my past got me to where I am. So if I would change one thing, I may not be here. But no, I was 20, 23, 24 at the time, wanted to be independent, wanted to be out there, being an appraiser. And so I went to work for couple different companies over the next couple years and realized, a couple different AMCs and realized I didn't want to be out in the field. I actually really enjoyed reviewing appraisal.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I love the investigation of the appraisal, of reviewing the appraisal, determining what we're going to be, what the value is. Is the value accurate? If not, what is the true value? I realized I love doing that and started working for a mortgage lender and was one of their review appraisers from 2003 to 2007.
Wow, what an amazing experience to spend that much time doing reviews. What did you begin to learn about maybe valuation in general, maybe about developing appraisals in specific, as a person who was responsible in review, as opposed to someone who had been responsible in the preparation and production of appraisal reports?
I think a lot of it is, as an appraiser and as you hone your craft, you start to realize that there's certain things in an appraisal that should always be there. And if something feels off to you as you're reviewing an appraisal, go with your gut, because 9 times out of 10, there is going to be an issue. It's going to be off. So I would look through these appraisals and be like, okay, something doesn't feel right here. Start to investigate a little bit, dig a little bit deeper. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay. No, yeah, okay. You cut out a whole piece of the house because, come to find out, they tore down the walls inside the dining room. So instead of giving it a cost to cure, you just literally cut out that portion of the house, put it on the sketch missing the dining room. Yes, she actually did that.
That's obnoxious.
She actually did that, admitted to me that she did it because she thought it was okay. That's the problem. She thought that you could do that. So, but it was, you could tell by the photo that, the house was straight in the back. It went straight across in the back. Yet in her sketch, there was this huge cutout. Well, come to find out, So there's so many good appraisers out there, and they make your job so easy, right? I mean, they provide excellent comparables. Their adjustments are on point. All their addendums and their comments are just beautifully written. It's real easy to see a bad appraisal because I mean, it's not difficult. It really isn't. It's a lot of fun. You definitely have to switch your mind from doing appraisals to doing reviews because you got to think, you can't think like an appraiser. You got to you're protecting the company you're reviewing the appraisal for. And even if you don't like the appraisal, if the value is accurate, I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day. Sometimes you don't know how they got to that value, but they got to the right value.
I love that. I haven't heard that in a long time. A broken clock is right 2 times a day. It's true. I mean, you're thinking these comparables are horrible, but somehow you came up with the right value. So I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
Appreciate you touching on that because it's easy to overlook. There is so much good work that goes on that just doesn't get recognized. And I think in a sad way that the industry has missed out because we don't have fantasy football. Like, we need fantasy football for appraisers so that so many more people who probably don't even care about football would actually pay attention to the sport because they can do fantasy football. Like, what if you could actually do fantasy appraisal? And there, you get a chance of really understanding and appreciating the quality and consistency of people's performance through the stats that they post.
Right.
AKA, look at this great assignment again and again, and look at this difficult route. Look at this amazing reception. Or, they picked up a fumble off of some other horrible appraiser. What if there was that visibility to recognize, appreciate, and acknowledge the performance of peers? And there's not, unfortunately. Right. It can be quite thankless. And yet, thankfully, there's people like you that get to come out and speak the good work that so many people do.
No, appraising is thankless. I mean, 100%. I mean, anytime something goes bad, who do they blame? The appraiser. Not the real estate agent, not the loan officer, not the lender, the appraiser. We've been blamed for so many years for everything. And it's sad because an appraisal is just one portion of a very large process to have someone buy a house or refi a house.
Yes. Yes.
One piece of the puzzle, a very small piece compared to the rest. So, and no, I love a good appraisal is I think it's beautiful to read it and to look at it and to understand how they came to that point. You can almost determine how they're thinking. It's really, but then, finding the bad appraisals are fun because now you're smacking yourself in the head going, how in the hell did you do this? And why do you think that this is going to get through? It's it's a little scary sometimes, that's for sure too.
Oh my gosh. And so you as they would say, sharpened your skills and honed your abilities by
Correct.
spending 4 years in review. I love, sadly, I cringe and love at the same time.
Yeah.
The story of cutting off the house. What were some of the typical, and I think this is also helpful for those listening, mostly the newer people in the profession. What are some of those red flags that you would come across as a reviewer that you're just like, okay, my spidey sense, like something's wrong here. Like it's just like, something's just wrong. Or you're like, this is consistent with like, hey, if you clearly want me to say you're terrible, just do this. Like, what are those couple things that come to mind from all your review experience?
The biggest is, you're looking at the map, houses in one spot, and all your comparables 3/4 of a mile away, crosses a major highway, crosses a railroad track, but yet the subject house is in this beautiful subdivision. And then you look over at this other sub where the other comparables are, and there's a golf course and, a couple other things, or adjustments. That was always a big thing. Adjustments that are either way too high, where it's like, wow, that's a lot for a pool in Michigan, or they're way too low. So a house is selling at $300 a square foot, and you're giving $20 a square foot for an adjustment on square foot, right? Those are really the biggest things. The other one would be just houses that don't have the same, I wouldn't say curb appeal, but I think we all understand.
Yes.
You got a ranch, a one-story house. All your comparables are 2-story homes with an attached garage. Subject's a 1-story house with a detached garage. Okay? I mean, it's looking at those items, and typically it's not just one thing that's wrong, right? You see this cascade. It's okay. So he's using $30 a square foot on a house that's selling for $300 a square foot. Okay. Then we look at, look where all the comps are. They're all a mile away, yet we're in a very tight suburban area. Okay, well, maybe there's a reason for that. Then we look at the comparables themselves. They're all much nicer homes. Curb appeal is greater. So it's like you read this story and you're seeing that the story is not making sense whatsoever. Then you go in and you start looking at the MLS and you're like, there's 5 houses that have sold in the past 6 months in the subdivision that the subject's in. Oh, look, they're all $50,000 to $75,000 less.
Yep.
Go figure, right? So, so it's just a piece. It tells a story, and it's telling you need to investigate more, right? You need to go in and look and see what's going on. Why is there nothing from this subdivision? Or why is there only one from this subdivision, but that house is 800 square feet larger than the subject property, right?
Yes.
When you have a sub with 400 houses in it, it's highly unlikely there's only one comp from the past 6 months. So,
Exactly.
Yep.
Are you running a real estate firm? Are you looking to grow your firm, streamline your operations, or prepare for an exit? Don't miss this opportunity to work with Michael to figure out your business pathway to massive success. With a growth system for business that leverages opportunities and removes obstacles that Michael has successfully taught to thousands of entrepreneurs globally. Michael's guidance will help turn aspirations into reality. Michael is a renowned figure in the real estate and business coaching worlds. As one of only 5 individuals worldwide for Entrepreneurs Organization, Michael serves a dual role, training business owner participants in the EO Accelerator program, while also upskilling EO members' impact and capacity to lead multi-million-dollar businesses. Get more out of your business. In working with Michael, you can achieve the growth, profitability, and life balance you desire. With Michael, it's not just about business growth. It's about redefining your purpose for business and for your life. If you are interested in working with Michael, contact him via his LinkedIn profile or email him at michaelh@paru.com. And now back to part 2 of the episode, where we explore new technology trends that will shape the world of real estate appraisal for years to come.
Oh, wow. Those are fantastic, sad experiences. And yet,
Right.
I totally agree. There's multiple ways to get in the profession and really get up to speed. I love your approach, which was being a valuation specialist, getting to drive around and learn areas. And you just develop a sense of a neighborhood, a sense of place, a sense of consistent quality and how quality changes or construction changes. You know, the whole idea of carbon dating. Like, how do you know the difference? I'm like, dude, I've just seen like tens of thousands of properties. Like, you just,
Right.
The fenestration on a home, like how the windows change or how the roof line changes, or just
Right.
the structure and the materials, like all those things. Like, you can tell somebody that, but just you see it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Powerful learnings. And review work. I think review work is one of the fastest ways to train new people. We've done it successfully over the last 20 years. It's just like exposure, so that they start to build their own knowledge base. And it sounds like you had the exact same experience in your capacity.
No, 100%. Review work is excellent, especially when you're not telling them what's good, what's bad, let them figure it out for themselves. And they I started to realize, man, it's real easy to determine what's a bad appraisal just by looking at it. And it's an excellent way to teach the new appraisers that are up and coming what to look for, but also what not to do, right? This is not good. Don't ruin your career over one appraisal. It's just not worth it.
Couldn't agree with you more. As well as you touched on, getting to read reports, recognizing that it's a review of the report, it's not a review of the person, because like people have bad days. I mean, some days you wake up, you feel like you can take on the world, and other days you feel like the world just whacked you.
Right.
So it's a review of the report, but being able to read two reports side by side, potentially even on the same property, especially when you do litigation work. And like one of them, you can just follow the report. The results make sense. The other one, you're like, are they talking about the same property as the other?
Right.
Those kind of experiences.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you got to start in the field, become a practicing appraiser, handling the full assignments, move on, got to work in AMC environment. Then you get to work as a review appraiser. What came next for you?
What came next is, if anyone's been in the industry, the real estate bubble. 2007 really started to get bad, and I was laid off from the lender that I was at. Couldn't find a job in Michigan, and ended up moving down to Charlotte, North Carolina, to be the supervisory appraiser in the foreclosure department at Wells Fargo.
There's worse places to have to move to than Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right. Oh yeah, no, I loved it. It's beautiful city, absolutely gorgeous city. I got a great job down there. It was right at the start of the foreclosure crisis, so it was crazy time. I mean, I'll tell you that. I was at Wells until February of 2012. So pretty much through the whole crisis.
Lived through the whole default debacle.
Yeah, in the foreclosure department at the second largest servicer in the United States. We were behind Bank of America.
Paint a picture for us. Once you got going, within the first week, month, whatever it was, what was a typical month like for you? I mean, you're in the second largest department. Yeah.
Well, so what I was doing was looking at BPOs and appraisals. And so anything that was going to go to foreclosure sale, we would get a BPO or an appraisal, mainly a BPO at the time. Broker's price opinion for anyone that doesn't know. If it came in $25,000 or less, we would actually review it to determine, are we going to keep it and take it to foreclosure sale, or are we going to charge it off? If we were going to charge it off, we sign it, send it, that's it. It would never go to foreclosure sale. Wells Fargo would literally just charge off the loan. If the people continued paying their taxes, they could live in the house free and clear. At first, they weren't releasing the lien. Then, because people were leaving their homes, Wells was getting hit big time from cities. They started releasing the liens as well. So at that point,
you mean you get your home for free?
Yep. They would literally wipe out the whole debt, release the lien. If you literally lived in your property, paid the taxes, and you're still living there today, and it was worth $250,000, then it's yours, even though you may have had a loan on it for $150,000 prior. it's done. But that's pretty much what we did on a daily basis. I had a team of multiple people underneath me.
Yeah.
And that's all we did all day long was review BPOs for charge off and send them off. It was insane.
What a phenomenal learning experience. I mean, you were on the front lines of the meltdown.
Yeah.
So how many files, an hour would you have to look at? I'm just trying to get a sense of like your team, like putting the pieces together.
It was, I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I figured, I looked up once when I was there about 3 years, I was actually able to look through the system and to look at how many files I actually looked at. And it was an old DOS system that Wells Fargo used. And it actually couldn't pull how many files I had looked at and charged off. It was so many.
Oh,
so there was tens of thousands of loans over that time. And I can only imagine how much money. I mean, we were charging off houses that were sold for $300,000 2 years prior. And now we're worth $10,000 or less or zero. I mean, there were properties that would, I'm not going to say any cities, but there were properties where it was zero.
The city. I wouldn't go to the neighborhood.
Right. No.
I think it's helpful to actually say the city because people get a sense of it. I mean, you're from Michigan.
Right.
I mean,
well,
there was discussion about literally turning neighborhoods into farmland.
Yeah.
Because there was no value to the improvement.
Well, Detroit, Atlanta, Vegas, Phoenix.
Parts of Chicago.
You know, I mean, parts of Florida. There were parts of Florida where you could buy a condo for like $5,000. And it was literally 2 miles from Disney at the time.
Hindsight's 2020, man. I wish I saved my little piggy bank and had some rose-colored glasses on for See the Future. Back to the Future style. Was that Michael?
Right.
Was that Michael J. Fox? That's who. With the
DeLorean?
Oh my goodness, bring that on.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it was nuts. There was a little area in Florida called Lehigh Acres.
Okay.
And it's down near Fort Myers area. Nice little area, but for some reason it just took a massive hit. You could literally pick up a house, an actual single-family home, for less than $15,000. Yeah,
that's amazing and so sad. I mean, I remember so many assignments we worked on, walking in and just watching people in tears, like they're going through foreclosure, short sale. Not the ones that were belligerent or indignant, but the ones who they had good jobs. They made intelligent decisions at the time that you would typically make at that stage of life, and they were facing something that was worth half of what they paid for, be it that $300,000 home or condo, and they're like, I can't swing it, and I'm going home, I'm moving somewhere, I'm doing something else, and it was just devastating.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, but in the same instance, it's like, what did you expect if you were going to allow for a 5-year ARM with someone, stated income with a 505 credit score?
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It was almost impossible not to get a mortgage back then.
Yes.
I mean, it really was. So it was, they were giving a mortgage to anyone. And, well, I'm sure there's some people that were able to succeed and, in that, but a lot of people, unfortunately, it just destroyed them. It destroyed their lives.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did. How did your role change? I mean, you were there at the outset, through the onset, past the peak, and all the way into, I think you said 2012. Things were quite different in 2012. I mean, there were even signs of things potentially rebounding by 2010.
Yep.
But how did your role change, and how did the activity that you were performing change?
So it started to get slower.
Yeah.
But we at Wells Fargo itself, we were one of the main servicers for VA loan.
Oh, wow.
Well, VA could not continue with their foreclosure side. They could, so you would have to issue a notice of value or an NOV for every foreclosure. You'd have to get a VA appraisal, issue the NOV, and then take it to foreclosure sale. Well, the VA didn't have enough people to do all that. So they typically, on the origination side, they have what's called the LAPSAR, Lender Appraisal Processing Program Staff Appraisal Reviewer. They then created this other, on the back side, and the foreclosure side, called the SAPSAR, Servicer Appraisal Processing Program Staff Appraisal Reviewer. And so they came to us, they said, hey, we want you to do this. We're going to train you. You're going to be the first in the country to do it. We're like, great, that works out. So
Wow.
I was the first.
Amazing.
I was the first SAP SAR in the United States. I was trained by a gentleman named Jerry Kiefer, who was at the time the supervisory appraiser for the VA.
Got it.
Subsequently became a very good friend of mine. He comes up a little bit later in my story as well.
Okay, great.
But so we ended up doing that, and we were issuing all the NOVs for the VA appraisals, and it was going really, really well. And then it started to slow up, and that's when I actually started looking for another opportunity.
Oh, okay.
I knew that Wells was, the foreclosure department was starting to shrink in mid 2011. Everything was starting to slow down. Loss mitigation was starting to slow down. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start looking a little bit. I had looked in 2010.
Sure.
But, mainly really started hitting the ground running hard looking in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's actually,
Where'd you end up?
So that's where Jerry Kiefer comes in. One day he calls me. He's in Vegas at the Appraisal Summit in November. And he said, hey, Fannie Mae is looking for someone that knows valuation. Why don't you go in and put in your application because there's a job? And I had interviewed with Fannie a year prior, received a job offer in 2010, but then they had to pull it back, make it a contract offer. I couldn't accept a contract. My wife was pregnant with our first child at the time.
Oh,
and so it wouldn't have worked. So I passed. So I went in, I applied, was flown out like 2 weeks later to DC, met with everyone, and got the job and started at Fannie Mae in February of 2012.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
And what role were you in when you joined Fannie? Most people don't realize Fannie is huge.
Yep.
There's so many different roles and responsibilities in and around valuation. Where were you?
So I was in single family.
Okay.
I was a credit risk analyst too, and I was working on a program called Alpha, or what it's called today, collateral underwriter.
I was going to say, you got to tell everybody what Alpha really is.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
You had the opportunity, you were early on in this whole Alpha experience, as they call it.
Yeah. It was still, they had built a program, an app. It was used internally only to sort of try to figure everything out and to see if it was going to be possible to work. But then also, it was built to protect Fannie, right? All the appraisals have to go through as it is nowadays, but they all went through Alpha, and we would literally spend all day testing. So appraisal would be run through Alpha. It would give it a score of 5. We determine if 5 was the accurate score. 1 being the best, 5 being the worst.
Sure.
So we literally spent months and months and months doing that. I think it took us 3 months total, looking at almost 700 appraisals, or a little over 700 appraisals, our group. And we were all appraisers or former appraisers.
That's great.
Yeah, and we determined it was working accurately. And then that's when Fannie Mae decided we needed to do professional testing, or UAT testing. They sent me to a class in Boston. I got to go for 3 days, took a test. Hate taking tests. But I became a professional tester, UAT tester. And
oh, really? Okay.
yeah, it was I worked on CU my whole career at Fannie. I was there for over 8 years.
Oh, that's
And I worked on CU the whole time. I worked on the appraisal waivers, but mainly on CU. And I absolutely loved it. I tell you, I can finally say it in public because I couldn't say it when I was at Fannie. But if you give me a second to indulge.
Yeah, please do. I mean, here's the inside story that most people don't know. That's why I love the podcast. It's an opportunity, when appropriate, for people to just still share their perspective
Yes.
on what is and has gone on.
CU was never meant to replace the appraiser, ever.
Absolutely not. It's a risk
And
mitigation.
I saw so many of the blog saying this is going to get rid of appraisers. This is going to get rid of appraisers. It was never meant to get rid of appraisers. What it was meant to do is to very easily determine if the appraiser is changing a value in some way in a report. It is not possible if you're looking at a comp, right? And the appraiser in one appraisal says that the comparable is 1,500 and the next is saying it's 1,800. You're never going to know that. I don't care how good of a reviewer you are, unless you got a photographic memory, you're never going to know that by just reviewing it with your own eyes. But you are with CU, and you're going to know it immediately, right? you're going to know if the sales price has changed based on other appraisers or, the peers, or what if the appraiser changed it. If the appraiser has changed the sales price from one appraisal to the next, you're never going to know any of that stuff. It was made to protect Fannie. It was made to identify bad appraisers, and it was made to help lenders better review appraisals to protect themselves as well. That's all it was ever made for. And it drove me nuts, me sitting here testing it, talking about it, talking to all the VP that actually is on the patent for Alpha, for CU. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is made to protect the good appraisers. This is made to make sure that these bad appraisers are shown, hey, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We're going to start finding you. We're going to start calling you out, and you're going to have to change your ways. Otherwise, you're going to be gone. No one's going to want to, no one's going to want to work with you anymore, you know? So, and I couldn't say anything back then. I worked for Fannie and I couldn't say a word. Yes. But now it's all appraisers should be happy that CU is out there, because it shows that your appraisal is a good appraisal. Sure, it may be wrong. CU was wrong 7% of the time back then, back in 2013. It was wrong 3% of the time was because it was a weird house. It was on a golf course community, something couldn't figure it out. Those things are just going to happen. Right. Absolutely. So it was wrong 4% of the time. Otherwise, it was right 93%. A computer program. Yep. It's not made to bust you or to... No, not at all. And, so in the appraisers that I have talked to, most of them, when they find out I work on CU, most of them understand. I'm sure there's still some out there, but man, don't get so upset about it. If you get a CU message saying, oh, well, this is wrong or this, actually look at it and say, okay,
healthy,
right, and say, well, wait a second, let me go back and look, because a lot of the times, guess what you did? You fat fingered something. That's all.
Yes.
You put 18 instead of 16 or instead of 15. Oops, you're right. It's my bad. I'm going to go change it and fix it. That's all.
Well, and I think that's such a great point. And so many times, and I'm not talking about the appraisal profession now, I'm just talking about in general. When you look at a disconnect between people's experiences versus what was intended when something was rolled out or created or released, most of the time, it's poor communication and poor positioning. And in this case, it really did suck. And I'm not throwing any one person under the bus, just the process.
Right.
And yet there was a lot of damage control, which it's not about the appraiser, but then it's not for the appraiser, but it's judging the appraiser. There was all that terminology around CU and this reading. And again, it's all about what's the purpose of Fannie Mae? Fannie Mae is there to actually provide backstop in the lending space for this country,
right,
so that mortgages are more affordable. Right. So in order to reduce risk, you have to take steps to increase confidence.
Right.
And it's just one of the processes there that I understand people just don't understand. And therefore they're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm like, maybe not. Right. Maybe we just need more informed. So I'm grateful that you had an opportunity to be involved in that. So here you go from 700, they decide to roll it out. Were you involved in the rollout going forward when you started to take on the larger data set?
Yeah, so I still was testing CU. I was the lead tester, UAT tester there.
Yes.
I would go down to Dallas and train all of our internal people on how to use CU, answer the questions. And up until I left in May of 2020, I was still very much involved in CU and the testing portion of it. And it was, I really, really enjoyed my time at Fannie. And the only bad thing about me, besides me leaving, is I left in May of 2020. What was going on then? I didn't get to see many of my friends that I'd worked with for 8 years in person.
Yeah.
That was the only bad thing. That was one of the bad things about leaving. It was part of it the whole time. Part of appraisal waivers as well.
Sure.
I was lucky enough, along with me and another gentleman that I worked with, we were lucky enough to be able to go to HUD and actually train them on CU and how to use it.
Oh, that's great.
Very cool. Yeah. That was an excellent experience. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So what an amazing run you have. And then you left. What came next in your career?
Yeah, so my wife and I decided we hated snow and cold and we were going to move to Florida.
Wait, you
Yeah.
hate snow and cold? I know that isn't for everyone because we've got another guest who absolutely is deep into the mountainous region at 9,000 feet. But for
Oh
other
my
people,
gosh.
well, you're like talking Detroit. I'm in Chicago. I'm
Right.
from here. I totally get it. Like, it's
Yeah.
going to be brutally cold. Can we at least have some fun with it?
Right,
So-
yeah. My brother's the skier and all that.
Oh, okay.
I've never been that. I'm more of as I'm sitting here and we're talking, I'm moving a baseball around in my hand, right? I'm a summer guy.
Yes.
I like the summer. So we decided to move to Florida and started looking. I was able to find a job as the VP of Property Valuation at a company called PennyMac.
Oh, PennyMac.
Yep.
Of course. Tell people what PennyMac is for those for people that don't know.
Yeah, so they're a mortgage lender. They do all different types, wholesale, correspondent. I was the middle. All right, so I wasn't originations, I wasn't servicing, I was in the middle. I dealt with all the policies and procedures with regards to
Okay.
what originations and what servicing did. I did all the quality audits for origination and servicing, and I was there for a little under a year, but I was able to, I think, make a big impact. I went through and updated their policies and procedures. They were very heavy using CU. They also used LCA, which is Freddie's product.
Yes.
But obviously I knew CU better than I know LCA, but they were very heavy in using both. So I updated their policies and procedures to sort of incorporate CU into the system with how originations would work and what originations would review compared to what the CU score was or what the LCA score was. And did a whole bunch of, and like I said, quality audits for them as well. Servicing didn't really have much at the time because foreclosures were not possible during COVID. So, but was there for, let's see, from May until February of 2021.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sounds like if that was 21, that's still not today's date. What came after that?
So I went to a company called Appraisal Vision, where I was the chief product officer. They're
What did they do?
appraisal management, order management. I'm sorry, not appraisal management, order management platform.
Oh, all right.
Yep, and excellent company, excellent product. They are, a lot of the cutting edge stuff that they're doing is just, with how you can assign, how the whole order management system works, their smart review program, multiple different things. And I was there till December of 2021. And I left there, took a few months off, relaxed. Yep, relaxed.
You've been working hard, man.
Yeah.
You really put in the effort here.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Took a few months off and started at a company called QuickTrack. They're a commercial inspection firm. They do a lot of, when I say commercial, you're not doing inspections on buildings that are being built or anything like that. They do a lot of floor plan auditing, commercial with dealerships, that sort of thing. So
like floor plan financing kind of
Yeah,
stuff, or is
yeah.
it more around lease investigation and renegotiation by brokers to help savings for tenants?
No, so it more, one of their clients was an RV dealership. So
Sure.
if an RV dealership, they take a loan out to buy that RV. Well, when the RV is sold, they're supposed to pay the loan back, right? Well,
yes.
QuickTrack goes out. This is just one of their clients, but QuickTrack goes out, verifies if that unit is still on property or not. If the unit's not on property and the loan hasn't been paid back, that's a problem. So yeah. So that sort of stuff. The manufactured homes, a lot of different types of manufacturing dealerships and that sort of thing. So, but they wanted to build a residential inspection division. So, yep. So in April of 2022, everything was still really, really good. Yeah. So they hired me. They actually hired me to start in AMC.
Oh, okay.
Within about a month, not even, the market. The Fed decided, we're going to jack up interest rates to the items that we've never seen before. So let's just stall the market completely. Well, it did, but I'm sitting here and I'm like, QuickTrack has all these inspectors nationwide.
Yes.
Why don't we start a residential inspection firm? Fannie and Freddie had just announced that they're going to do appraisal waivers with inspections.
Yes.
So it's like, let's start an inspection firm. Let's do the Fannie and Freddie products. and then we could do some other inspections. Great, let's do it. So we pivot. Within 3 months, I get everything up and going. I get my order management system. I get exactly what I need. I put policies and procedures in place. I get inspectors on board to say, yes, we'll do residential inspections. Awesome. Get a company called Capture That Data was my out of the box tech that I use for all my inspectors to be able to do the inspections for Fannie and Freddie. And we got up and going. So I started. By the time we got everything ready, and figured out this is what we're going to do, was June of 2022. By August 31st, we took our first order of that year. As the months went on, things were slower and slower and slower, but Quick Track's like, we're in it for the long haul. We're going to do this. Okay, great. Well, as the new year 2023 comes into play, there's just a lot of things going on in the back end. Before long, June rolls around. It's not lighting up any. The interest rates are coming down. Nothing we can do about it. So I'm like, you know what? There's nothing we can do. We're just I talked to my boss. Him and I have a very long conversation, and he's like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to let you go.
Oh,
I closed the division, and that was it. I loved every minute of it. It was one of the best times I ever had. I got to literally build something from nothing.
That's a cool experience.
Yeah, and it was an excellent opportunity that I had, and people I worked with were amazing. The president of the company, he literally sent me a message a couple days before Christmas asking how I was doing. He's always kept in touch. Yeah, just, great people, and it stinks, and, and to see something you built just unfortunately have to go away, but, it's okay. They were very generous, and we closed it in August 9th to be exact, and of 2023, and I took a couple months, and October 9th of 2023, I started with a company. So I was off for 2 months. I did some fishing. I did some watching TV, I relaxed for a little bit. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Netflix series while you were catching up on the TV?
No, I didn't. I just relaxed and enjoyed the summer and enjoyed the rest of the time. And then the kids went back to school. So I go fishing in the morning for a little bit and come back home, relax, get some stuff done around the house. I was Mr. Mom for a little bit. So it was great.
Good for you.
Yeah, loved it. And, so I started working for this. Now today I am at a company called Land Gorilla. Land Gorilla
What's
is
the name? What's the name again?
Land Gorilla.
I love that name.
Yeah,
I mean, that just, I don't even know what it is. But that just creates such an image. Like Gorilla Glue. I mean, it's
right.
really not Gorilla.
Right.
It creates an image in your mind like Land Gorilla. So what does the company do?
Yep. They are the leading technology provider of construction loan management software. They give financial institutions confidence to make safe, fast, and profitable construction loans. They are an excellent company. I tell you, I've worked for a lot of people. I've loved so many people that I've worked with and consider them friends. But I'll tell you, this is the warmest welcome I've ever received when working at a company. Everyone that I have met is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
That's so impressive here. So for those people that don't understand this space, and granted, if you weren't around this, why would you? So what is the importance of the role that Land Gorilla plays? I mean, having been a banker and been in construction, and I love what they do, but for those that might be a little less familiar, tell us why it's important for what they do.
Yeah, so the construction loan management software that they have it makes it very easy for the lender to understand what's going on in the process as the property is being built. They make it a very easy process. If you go to landgorilla.com, go to the website, it gives you all the information in there, and it's an excellent platform. Excellent platform.
Amazing. And who are the typical clients of Land Gorilla?
Lenders, fix and flip, new construction lenders, fix and flip lenders. If you need construction loan management software, then Land Gorilla is the company that you should take a look at and go to their website.
That's great to hear. And obviously, you started out taking photographs, driving around in a Toyota Corolla, and now you're literally helping revolutionize the construction loan management space.
Yep.
Which is so vastly so vast, first of all, and of great need, depending on what stats you pay attention to, in terms of the shortage of housing that has continued to grow over the last roughly half decade. This need for construction and therefore construction management is vital. Yeah. Wow. Did you ever foresee that you'd be in a role like this from when you started?
No. Matter of fact, I mean, I think a lot of companies, the whole inspection space and even the new construction space. I mean, when I was at QuickTrack, the inspection space itself, it really, sure, there's companies out there that did inspections, but not like you're seeing now. Not like you see with the appraisal waivers and inspection that Fannie and Freddie both have now. There was really nothing like that, and you've seen a lot of companies pop up all of a sudden because of it. And but I never thought that I thought, oh sure, I'll be in the valuation space, but I'm not technically in the valuation space anymore. I'm in the inspection space, right? I'm sort of on the front end of the appraisal, and what you do, the first thing you do, whereas any other time throughout my career, I've always been on the back end. So it's a lot of fun. It's something different, and I still love the valuation of real estate and how you get there and the investigation. Maybe that's why I wanted to be a cop so bad, and this sort of gives me a little bit of the taste of that, right? The investigation of things. And
yes,
but it's but I think staying in the real estate industry, but sort of getting a new piece of the puzzle is what I needed, because after QuickTrack, I really just wanted to leave the space altogether. I lived through 2000. I lived through 2007.
Yes.
I had now going through this, and I'm like, God, real estate just sucks. I hate it. I'm so tired of it. But I'm glad I stayed. I'm glad I didn't look into another industry and go to another industry. And who knows what'll happen tomorrow, right? I mean, as of right now, I love what I do. It's everything to me, and
I love it. So, I mean, given everything that you've seen and experienced and been exposed to, Jacob, what are you optimistic about or looking forward to over the next roughly, say, 2 to 5 years?
I'm really optimistic that there's so many appraisal companies out there, AMCs and appraisal companies, that have finally taken an interest in training the next generation of appraiser.
Got it.
I won't name any names. I know you know them. All the people that are going to listen to this podcast know them. But they're out there. They're trying to train. They're training the new appraiser. And to tell you the truth, for many years, no one did it. It was very hard for someone to find an appraiser to train them, a supervisory appraiser. That is very optimistic to me. And they're taking care of these trainees. And that's what I love as well. I was taken care of when I was a trainee.
Yes.
I was taught the right way to do things. That's going to make a huge difference. The other part is, I really hope that the interest rates come down a little more. I hope that the prices come down a little bit. Unfortunately, I see too many people, younger people, that are priced out of homes nowadays. They can't buy their first house. Like I'm sure, like I did, like I know you did.
Yeah.
Being able to buy your first home was probably it's probably the first proudest moment that you're going to have. If you don't have a kid. If you don't have a kid at that time, being able to sign that paperwork and be given a keys to something, not a car, but something that you're going to live in, that you are going to, I mean, that's the biggest, what do they say? It's the biggest indicator of wealth. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the biggest purchase you'll ever make for the most part.
It is.
And it's the easiest way to gain wealth in your life, is to buy a home. And hopefully the interest rates will come down. Hopefully the values will stabilize or go down a little bit. You'll start to see it uptick in sales, which is good for everyone. You'll start to see refis again. I think that's where the biggest problem is.
Yeah.
And the new construction. I think now people realize we have to build. We can't just go about and do what we're going to do and hope that everything's okay. We have to build new homes. And it can't just be multifamily. It has to be single family as well.
I hear you on that one.
So, so to me, yep, that's what's optimistic with regards to the industry. Yeah.
Fantastic. Friends, as I told you, you would get to the end of this and be like, wow, That was just a fire hose of information, perspective, and understanding that you probably didn't have before you got here. So I am grateful for Jacob sharing that. And more importantly, I'm grateful not only for you including some takeaways and some insights that you're going to post in the comments, and already you've subscribed, but sharing this with 2 or 3 people like, man, I just didn't know that. Project Alpha. Wow. CU. Holy cow. Risk mitigation. Goodness gracious. All those things are present for you to be able to share in the love out there amongst our peers, both in the industry and well beyond it. Because as you can see from where Jacob started to where he's at now, you just never know what opportunities are going to come about by staying in touch with good people and doing good work. So Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Can I give a shout out to one?
Absolutely.
All right. I got to give a shout out to my kids. Ricky, who's 21, military, and goes to ECU up in North Carolina. I got my son Michael, who's 13, my son Tate, who's 12, my son Owen, who's 9, and my daughter Anna Kate, who's 7. So, and then my wife Nicole. But without them, I'd be nothing. So thank you to each of them.
Oh, man, really appreciate that. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. You have a fantastic day. And for everybody, until our next episode, hey, man, keep spreading the love. Go out and connect with somebody and help level them up as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in uncovering how technology is reshaping the landscape of real estate valuation and appraisal. Would you do a favor for someone you may never meet to influence a future that is worth building? Please scroll down and like this podcast and share your comments. Stay engaged with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platforms to catch every moment of innovation and expertise shared. Got an idea or a suggestion? Share your thoughts and questions with us. Let's continue to grow together, embracing the tech evolution that is enhancing our industry's effectiveness and efficiency. Until next time, remember, in the fast-evolving world of real estate and technology, being a part of the change is what sets you apart. Keep creating the future by striving for excellence and innovation.